I don't know what it is, but as soon as it hits August, I start busting out the plaid. This is my little fall heart talking and telling me that fall is coming. Can we just like take summer, this is summer by the way, and make it go away? Like kick it across the room? Ooh. Sorry. Hi everyone, my name is Holly, and in today's video I am going to be doing my July wrap-up. So I basically jinxed my reading. What did I tell myself in my summer TBR video?
So my main goal for the summer when it comes to my reading is to basically just read as much as I can.
Oh yeah, that. And what do? The freaking opposite. I went like a total of 2 weeks in July without reading anything, which it kind of doesn't look like it because I still managed to read 5 books. 2 of them though I read in like a couple days, and then 2 of them took me like the whole month. But we still get work done. So the very first book that I finished in July was The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. I was so incredibly excited to delve into another world by the master himself, Joe Abercrombie. You guys know, and I've heard me say it a million times, how much I love the Shattered Sea trilogy by him, and that series will always have my #1 spot in my heart. But this one was like on a whole new level. So in this book, the action mostly takes place in the Union in the year of 575. It is a stagnating but kind of powerful empire that is completely surrounded by enemies. We have the barbarians up in the north who are run by a very cruel king, and then we have the Gurkish Empire in the south who are very vast and mighty, and they're ruled by a very evil emperor. And the story is interweaving 6 different characters that we get to follow, which is super exciting. It wasn't just like the normal 3 that are in the synopsis. There are actually a few more, and I absolutely adored them. And the very first page actually starts off with my favorite character, Logan Ninefingers, who is a northern warrior legend. But the gist of the whole book is basically that war has finally broken between the Union and the North, and that kind of pulls us into the story and all of the character introductions. The thing I noticed most while reading this book is that the reader is not told everything at once, or even given pages of like backstory and explanations of the world culture and history and geography. The plot literally just keeps moving, and the reader picks up little details as you move along. I loved this. This honestly helped me unravel my love for these characters. They were my freaking babies. This is probably the best repertoire of characters I have ever read about. In fact, there is so much fan art. If you look up the First Law character fan art on Google or something, I'll actually insert a picture so that you can see. The characters are so interesting, and this is 100% a character-driven story. You know how in most books you have the good guys and you have the bad guys? Forget all about that. There are no alignments here, there are no cliches, no molds, and I loved them all. I do highly recommend looking up the fan-made world map of this story, because this book actually doesn't come with a map at all, but I found this map to be so helpful to be able to see all of these empires, and the fan who created it did a fantastic job. It really helps. So this was obviously a really big hit for me, and I ended up giving it a 4.25 out of 5 stars, and my reason for it not being a complete full 5 stars is because this does feel like a complete prologue introduction, which I didn't totally mind because the characters were so amazing. So this is where my reading slump kind of started introducing itself to me, so I decided to pick up a middle grade, and that was The Black Thorn Key by Kevin Sands. So like I said, this is a middle grade story, and basically there have been a string of murders in London, and one thing is known about these murders is that the victims are being brutally murdered, like very viciously, and also they are all apothecaries. Enter our main character Christopher, who was an orphan, and he was taken in by an apothecary named Benedict Blackthorn to be his apprentice. Many apprentices are treated very poorly, but luckily for Christopher, Benedict Blackthorn actually treats him so kindly and very warm-heartedly. And Christopher really likes his position, but he can't help but be a normal, mischievous, little kid with his best friend Tom, and they kind of get into trouble every now and then. But he will need all of his wit when these murders unfortunately hit far too close to home. A serial killer murder mystery set in the Middle Ages sounded like it was going to be such an awesome and fun read. It had great world building, and it was kind of like the perfect brain candy with all the apothecary references. The text is chock full of all of these puzzles that you get to solve with the main character, and they weren't like totally juvenile where they were like impossible to solve or they were too easy to solve. I actually had trouble with them myself, and I'm a smarty pants. But they were very integral to the plot, and it honestly helped push the main character's story along very well. It definitely had a Da Vinci Code feel to it. Also, there are a bunch of religious references to Christianity, which by all means are not a bad thing, but for my personal taste, I didn't quite see the reasoning for it. The book was just alright. It wasn't like anything special. It wasn't good, it wasn't bad, but I ended up giving it a 3 out of 5 stars. So at this point of the month, I really felt that reading slump hit me right in the face, so I was like, no, I need to pick up something short, something very easy to read. So I decided to pick up All the Wind of the World by Samantha Mabry. This is actually my second Samantha Mabry book. I read A Fierce and Subtle Poison by her a couple years ago, and I actually gave that one 3 stars, so I knew that I wanted to give Samantha Mabry a second chance, and I'm pretty glad that I did. This is a YA magical realism with a touch of dystopian elements to it, and it definitely reminded me of the book slash movie Holes with Shia LaBeouf. But this book is set in a very dry desert landscape, and it follows our 2 main characters, Sarah and James, who are oddly lovebirds, I guess, if you want to call them that, and they are traveling across the United States as farmhands looking for work. But their lives are so full of secrets, and they even claim to be cousins, which is a little odd, but it's to keep their identities safe, I guess. After some unfortunate events, they end up stumbling upon a plantation called The Real Marvelous, and they end up finding out that they are not the only ones hiding very dark secrets. I actually loved the world building in this, and the post-apocalyptic USA really set the mood for me. I love those kinds of settings, but where the story hits a bump for me was the romance between Sarah and James. I actually didn't like these 2 characters all that much, especially together. They were a little bit weird, and their personalities were the equivalent of wet socks. And I was just a little bit disappointed by the ending. It kind of felt like a cop-out. All in all, this is a very quick read with a unique plot, but with dull characters that you want to question under a big spotlight to ask why they chose the decisions that they did. So I ended up giving this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. So finally, I decided that I was in the mood for the next book in the First Law universe, and that was I just hit my laptop. Before They Are Hanged by Joe Abercrombie. Book 1 was indeed a big introduction, and then in book 2, all of our characters are literally moving, and we get to know our characters a lot more personally as they kind of slog along on their individual journeys. We even get some new characters in this one, and one of them being Pharaoh, who is this amazingly grumpy woman that I adore, even though she's extremely hateable, and I can see how people would be very put off by her. But I freaking loved her so much. Her and Logan Ninefingers are for sure my favorite characters of the whole series. At any moment that they get page time, I basically celebrate with imaginary confetti. My only problem with this book is that I thought for sure the plot would kind of explode in this one, and it still didn't. There is lots of info dumping about the world, especially since our characters are traveling now, and each time they get to a new location, they have to be all like, why does this location look like this? Well, this is its history, and all of its emperors in the past, and yeah, it's a lot to take in. The ending for each narrative in this book had me thinking, well, what the hell are they gonna do now? And unfortunately, I have a very good feeling that things are going to get a lot worse before they even get slightly better. But I ended up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars. It was great. And the very last book that I decided to pick up this month on a total whim, because I saw the trailer on TV and I was like, oh shit, I need to read this book so that I can go see the movie, because my boyfriend wants to go see it as well, and I should probably stop talking and show you what the book is. That is The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. So I am very late to this party as always, but better late than never, and I've had enough of hearing everyone's thoughts about this book being so good, so I decided to pick it up and see for myself. And I'm very happy that I did that. So in this story, most of America's children die of this disease. Those who survive actually develop these really cool superpowers, but this unfortunately means that they are then sent to these brutal camps for rehabilitation. Lots of quoting here. And the story is centered around a group of kids, mostly a girl named Ruby, and they are basically trying to find a safe haven, which is really hard to do in this crumbling society where you basically can't trust anybody. I really enjoyed this, and I think I know the reason why. And when it comes to dystopian stories, I actually really like just the generic tropey plots. I don't really like anything straying to be complicated. I literally just want your normal, average, trying to survive within the apocalypse story. I really love these characters, and they all found a very special place in my heart, and reading about them bonding throughout the story was really heartwarming to read. And the plot was pretty solid. It wasn't really anything like fast or slow. It was pretty in between. Like, not a whole lot of action happens in my opinion. It's a lot of just our children kind of running away. But I still ended up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars, and the way that this one ended, I really need to go pick up Never Fade, and I can't wait to do that. Well, looky there, we have come to the end of this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Those are all of the books that I read in July. Tell me down below some of the books that you read, because I would love to know. Tell me if you guys have read The Darkest Minds, or if you plan to, because the movie's coming out, or it's actually already out by the time this video goes up. But yes, let me know. Go ahead and follow me on my social media. I'm on Instagram at HollyHeartsBooks and on Twitter at HollyNiece. Also, don't forget to subscribe and hit that little bell for me so that you get notified for when I post new videos. And until we meet again, happy reading.